do is I provide a 40-hour mental health training program to Brantford Police Service as well. So it's one of my other roles, and I do that once a year. I got involved in this committee. Brad Cotton, Sergeant Cotton asked me to be involved in this committee, and I've actually been to, well, one meeting. And lots of emails, one meeting. And Brad called me sent me an email saying about 3 weeks ago, saying, Sarah, we want to redeem yourself. One of our presenters has canceled, and could you help? And I'm like, oh Lord, you know. So I spoke to one of my colleagues, and she was able to identify Marina as being a person who might be interested in presenting. So I've had the pleasure of meeting Marina, so she's going to be doing a majority of the presentation today, and again I have a little piece to add at the end, and certainly together we can answer any questions. I've had the real pleasure of meeting Marina in terms of her bio. She goes, I'm only 20, what kind of bio can I have? And I'm like, oh, good point. But she has a lot to say. She's a third-year nursing student at McMaster University in the Bachelor of Science of Nursing program, and she has an interest in mental health. She's an advocate and volunteer with the National Eating Disorder Information Center and has her own blog, which she'll give you at the end, where she writes about medicine, health, living, eating disorders, and mental health. I had the pleasure of meeting Marina. Not only does she do that, she also volunteers virtually every day in a walk-in clinic. Okay, so she's like a very motivated, very interesting person. So as I said, she'll do a majority of the presentation, and again, open for questions at the end.
So again, I'm Marina. I was thinking about what to write for my bio, and I was going to tell you I got my first tooth at 6 years old. I really had no idea what to say. So yeah, I'm 20, I'm pretty young, but I do have a lot of experience with social media and bullying, so I'm going to do my best to walk you through what social media is, how bullying can occur through social media, and then together with Sarah, we'll just go through some tools that you guys can use either with kids or in the community or whatnot. So before we start, just looking at the picture here, I had trouble identifying all of these sources of social media. I think when we see social media, the first thing that pops into all of our heads is Facebook, right? There's so many other things. There's YouTube, there's Twitter, there's MySpace, there's Blogger, there's LinkedIn. There's some things that probably you've never even heard of, but is considered social media. Texting would also be considered social media to a certain extent. So that's just something to keep in mind today when we're talking about how cyberbullying can occur through those different things. So what age do you guys think social media bullying can start at? 5 or 6? 8. 8. Okay. See, I thought this was shocking. Like when I was asking myself this question, I was going to say around like 13 or 14, because typically on Facebook, that's the age you should be to have an account. The reality is that there are probably 8-year-olds, 7-year-olds, maybe even 5-year-olds who have Facebook, and they just, pretend they're born in 1960 or whatever, and they put up a picture, and there you go, it's a Facebook account. So again, what is social media? I thought looking at this square was interesting. Again, if you can identify ones other than the Facebook, the Blogger, the YouTube, LinkedIn, messaging, I don't know what all the other ones are. So that just goes to show you how many other things. Vines is a new one. That's relatively really new. It's like, I don't know if you guys are familiar with it, like 6-second short videos of funny things that people want to post. So like, I don't know, I'm Egyptian. So one common one is how Egyptians knock at the door. And we don't really knock, we bang on the door. So that's just the way the Vine is. It's to make you laugh. But they're interesting because you might not know if someone records you. I've had a friend being recorded in the shower. She didn't know. Yeah, I thought that was a little invasive, but it happens. So just to be aware that social media, it's expanding day by day, and people are making new things every day. A while ago, Facebook was not really that much of a deal. A few people had it, but it wasn't the biggest thing. It was Hotmail. Like if you didn't have an email, you were done. Today, if you don't have Facebook, you're just totally disconnected from the world. You don't know when anything's happening. You don't know what shoes she bought, what color her dog is. You don't know anything. So it goes to show you that little kids are getting started into this earlier and earlier. And unfortunately, as they get started with social media, they realize that it's not as safe as it really looks to be. And that's something that we're going to talk about later on. So something that I thought of was kind of a catchy line. If it's online, it's fine. A lot of us have that misperception, and it's worse with children or with teens. They think that if they post something online, it's safe, or if they post it, it's okay, I can always go back and delete it. This picture really shows you a good idea of how quickly social media can spread. It goes from one person to the next person, and it's literally at the touch of a button. It's so easy. I don't know how many times I've written comments on Facebook, and then I reread it and I'm like, oh, like, that doesn't sound so great, and I just go delete. But in the time that I pressed delete, someone could have read it, someone could have saved it. And what's interesting, and what we'll talk about later, is on Facebook, anyone can save your pictures. I didn't know that before, but if you're, say, tagged in a picture and you're on a smartphone and you press it, you can save that to your phone, even if you've made it private. So this is something that we really have to bring awareness to our society. If it's online, it's not necessarily fine. It doesn't mean it's private, no matter how closed your Facebook status or your Facebook account is, which I felt too is a little bit misleading. Facebook says, yes, it's totally private, just set it so that only your friends can see it or friends of friends. But we don't know whether there are glitches in the media. Stuff happens, stuff does leak, and you don't know who your friends are going to pass the information on. And this is how social media bullying really starts to get out of control. Because one person sends a message, it spreads like crazy. One person posts a picture, everyone is saving it. You can alter pictures now with the weirdest things, Photoshop and whatnot, and make it look like I was in space yesterday. So it's really amazing how people can spread these things really quickly, and it's concerning at the same time. And as professionals, or in whatever workplace setting you are in, even as just a parent, it's important to know that if your kid is online, or if anyone you know is online, they really have to understand, sadly, nothing is really safe. So some statistics I thought were interesting. Almost 50% of people have experienced social media bullying. And it's really sad to think about how high these statistics are, and knowing that some people might not even admit to having experienced this as well. So whether these are true statistics or if they're a little bit lower than what's real is something for us to be aware of. I asked before, what age do you think it starts at? Statistics show it starts at 9, but again, that is really changing. I don't know how far ago that was. I think it was 2009. But again, I have the random Facebook people adding me, and I look at their picture and they're probably like 9 years old, yet their profile says they were born in 1980. So it's really easy for people to start profiles. Even emails, even text messaging, all of these things are ways, in one way, for us to connect with people, which is a good thing. If you don't have your Facebook or your text messaging, you'd probably never know when anything is happening. On the other side, kids aren't really aware of this, even teens to some extent. And like we've been saying, before you know it, it spirals out of control and you have a big problem on your hands. So again, these are some really, I think, concerning statistics to think about. The fact that so many people are experiencing social media bullying, and it's really unfortunate. Like we said before, social media is supposed to be something for fun. It's supposed to be a way for us to talk with people like halfway across the globe, which is great if you don't have family nearby or if you just want to keep in touch with someone. But the fact that people are taking it out of what it's supposed to be used for and starting to use it to bully it's really concerning for us, and it's something that we need to know of, and we need to try to stop it before it gets out of control. Because as we're going to see, social media bullying, as soon as it starts getting out of control, it's very difficult to stop it. It's hard to pinpoint who did it, who done it, and it's hard to find out how to get consequences for those people. And maybe even more importantly is how to help the victim of social media abuse to kind of get over that. It's really difficult once someone has experienced social media bullying or any type of bullying to get back on their feet, to give them the confidence again to start again, and really to make them feel safe. Because I think once maybe your name has been tainted as being a victim of social media abuse, it's really hard, especially for children, to get over that and to go back into school and to try to put on a happy face. And sometimes they'll have this hurt inside of them and they won't even mention it, like I've said with these statistics. And that's really important, because if kids can't express their feelings, it can get worse and it spirals out of control. So this was a table I found from a study, really interesting. It just compares social media users and non-social media users, and they asked them a bunch of questions, like, have you experienced any bullying? Has someone posted something without your consent? And of course, the people who use social media are sometimes even double the people who don't. One that I thought was interesting is someone passes on a message or uses something that you sent them without permission. And it sounds really crazy, like, why would anyone do that? But it happens. I don't know, maybe you send someone a text message and say, like, I'm just so ticked off at my boss because they did this. And you don't know what that person is going to do. They can pass it down to someone else. For teenagers, it's, again, it's so easy to text right now. So, if they send someone a message, it gets forwarded to many, many people. You don't even know who it's being passed on to, and it can end up in someone's hands that you don't necessarily want them to read it, or you didn't think that it was going to be passed on. So that's something, again, that we're going to talk about later. When you're talking to kids or teens, how to help them to understand what's appropriate to post on social media, or what they should be writing in a text message and what they shouldn't be. I know a lot of times, well, back when I was a little kid, they used to say, if you're really mad at someone, write an email and then save it. Don't send it, save it. And that should just be a good way to let out your anger. But stuff happens and you end up praying send instead of save draft, and it gets sent to that person. Or you end up posting something on Facebook that you think is not going to go there, and it starts going viral. And if you use social media, I'm pretty sure you can see how fast something, you post a picture and everyone tries to see how many likes you get. Like, oh, I got 50 likes in the last 5 minutes. And it happens. It travels fast. So just a little bit more about social media bullying. So how they can experience bullying through social media. So like we said, there's using your information without letting you know. Posting pictures without letting you know. I mean, if someone's taken a picture at you at a birthday party and they tell you they're going to post it on Facebook, it's a different story. But if someone's maybe taken a picture from you without your permission and they've posted it, if they've altered it in any way with Photoshop, if they've taken a video of you, if they've tagged you in something that's really inappropriate, if they've made a comment about you on Facebook, or they even take over your identity and they use your identity to comment on other things, there's things that are completely out of my mind, the way social media bulliers use social media to their advantage to bully other people. I've seen things like making accounts in other people's names. I've seen things pretending to be someone else, tagging someone in a totally inappropriate comment, pretending that this person was doing something with you that was wrong and posting it for everyone to see. And again, on one hand, social media is great because it lets us connect with others. On the other hand, it blows my mind to see how people can use social media for terrible things. And I don't mean to be negative, but it feels like it's just going to keep getting worse as social media continues to expand. So that's again why it's really important for us to know these things, to identify when someone might be a victim of social abuse and how to take the steps to help them. Not only help the victim, but also how to take steps to prevent this from happening. Because we might know that it happens with, say, student A, student B might be experiencing the same thing and not tell anyone about it. So that's why it's important not only just to help them, but also for prevention. So I'm 20 years old. I do have experience with social media bullying. I'm in third year university, as Sarah said. I experienced social media bullying last year. So I was 19 years old when someone decided to bully me through social media. To me, it felt very immature that you were about 19 years old and doing that on the internet, but it happens. It starts at a young age. If someone starts at a young age, they might feel inclined to do it for the rest of their lives. Maybe the bully who bullied me didn't start at a young age. Maybe they just decided to bully me. I put a timeline up here of how fast it spiraled out of control. So basically, I had an eating disorder for the past about 7 years. Last year it got really bad. I was hospitalized in the ICU. It was a terrible experience. I was sedated for about 3 months. I had a ventilator because my muscles were too weak to breathe. My kidneys totally failed, so I was on dialysis for 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. It was a terrible experience for the 3 months, and I finally woke up. They woke me up to take out the ventilator, and my body had somehow miraculously recovered. So that was a great thing. I was really happy to be out. I wasn't sure that I was going to make it, so I had called my school beforehand to ask them to delay my second year of university, so that they could keep my place. But then when I got out miraculously, I was like, well, why not? I might as well just continue my degree. So it was a little bit of uncertainty. It was definitely a really difficult time. Now, thank God, I'm recovered. I'm a lot better. But when I had just gotten out of the hospital, I was better, but I was still pretty weak from the eating disorder, from the effects from the medication. A little bit confused. I had been sleeping for 3 months. I didn't know who married who or who went to who got a dog. It was totally a difficult time for me. So really getting back into the swing of things was difficult. And I started a blog during this time to let people know what was going on with me. I thought it was a really good experience to share with people who have eating disorders, even just any mental illness. to get themselves back on track and to realize that you don't need to keep it to get as far out of control as I did, which was to land in the ICU. You should definitely stop it beforehand. Like Sarah said, we'll put my blog in at the end. I encourage you to go read it, not just because I wrote it, but do that. But I do think it's a really good place for people to read. I blog about mental health, and a lot of people do reach out and they comment and they say that, you know, maybe they were struggling with a mental illness and they didn't want to talk about it. Which again relates to social media bullying. People will struggle with it and they don't want to talk about it. So when someone takes the steps to start talking about it, that's when it makes the difference. Because that's when you see that it's not something to be ashamed of, and people have experienced it and they've overcome it, so this is very well possible. So anyway, getting back to my timeline, sorry, I was advertising for my blog there, but it's free, so I won't charge you for going to it. So August, I got out of the hospital. Around September, I got back into school. I started reading really negative comments on my blog. I used to have it as an open blog. Anyone in the world could comment on it. Then I started going onto my blog, and underneath my posts, I would see very negative comments, like, who told you that you're Miss Queen of the world? Why didn't you just die in the ICU? What was the point of living again? And I felt very uncomfortable with these comments. But, you know, I brushed it off. I was like, you know, there's some fool in the world who just feels like going on people's blogs and commenting, so this is what they're doing. So I went on the settings for my blog, and I changed it to moderate the comments. So what that means is now instead of posting the comments right away, I would have to accept them first, and then they would be posted on my blog. And I thought, you know, maybe someone seeing that would be like, oh, well, she stopped me from commenting. I'm not going to comment anymore. Fortunately, this person was so insistent on hurting me, they didn't. They kept putting these comments, except this time I would see them before they got posted. So I would just keep pressing delete, and they were probably around 5 comments a day. It was insane. It was obviously from the same person because it was like, you know, 801 comment, 802 comment, 803 comment. So they were obviously very obsessed with my blog, and why not, right? But anyway, I appreciate their love for me, but obviously they weren't showing it in the right way. Cocky. So I started just deleting these comments, and after a while they started posting links in the comment section. They would be like, well, what is this video? And then they'd post it. And usually I don't click on these things because God knows what the video could be linking me to, and I don't want to see it. But after a while, I started to get curious. So I was like, well, what is this video? So I clicked on the video, and this person had made a video using my name with a YouTube account. So Marina Abdelmalik was the author of the video. They had taken pictures that I posted on Facebook of me in my cute little nursing scrubs. And I looked cute. They called me cute, but it was obviously sarcastic. I did look cute though, but you know, pictures of me maybe getting ready for church, all these sorts of pictures of me. I mean, I'm pretty sure you could tell by the way I speak. I'm not one to totally go out like in a bikini in the middle of winter, so I do dress modestly. But this person apparently thought it would be fun to post these pictures of me. So they made a video with very depressing music in the background, and putting texts in the middle of the pictures like, she was only 55 pounds when she got admitted into the ICU, which I was, so that wasn't a lie. But then they started to get the negative stuff. Like, if you have a grandma who's sick and dying with cancer, she's not in the hospital because Marina was taking her place in the ICU. Or you pay your tax dollars to OHIP, and OHIP went to funding this girl to stay because of her head and her inability to eat in the ICU. Do you think this is fair? Do you think that you're wasting your money on this type of girl? Why couldn't she just eat? This was stupid of her. How is she going to be a nurse if she can't even pick up a fork and feed herself? Really negative comments like that. It was about a 5-minute video with my pictures in the middle. So, I mean, watching that, I was shocked. I didn't understand how they got my pictures. I didn't understand why someone was saying these things about me. I mean, like, I had just come out of the hospital. You know, I was just trying to get back into the swing of things. I hadn't done anyone to hurt anyone. I'm not the type of person who picks up fights with people. You know, if you have a problem and you're able to tell it to me, then fine, I'll try to fix it. But it was really a shock to see this video. And on top of everything, it was posted in my name. So it looks like I was saying this stuff about myself, which was kind of weird. It was really terrible. So I went on to the YouTube website and I tried to figure out how I could take this video off. And if you've ever tried to do that, it's a very lengthy process. You have to take a picture of your license, a picture of your passport, and send it to them to prove that this is really you and you're not the person who posted the video. Not that I would think that anyone would post a video of themselves like that anyway, but that's what they require. Then you have to write an explanation of why you think this video is inappropriate, which I thought was totally unnecessary. You can see that the video was inappropriate. They didn't accept my request the first time around. They told me that they saw nothing wrong with the video content. And they didn't believe that it wasn't me who posted it because my name was exactly the same, something like that. I kept trying, and I didn't tell, this is my mom and my sister, by the way. They're up here taping me because it's a big deal. And I look good too, right, so why not? But anyway, I didn't tell them at the time that this video was posted. I didn't want to scare them. We're a really touchy-feely family, especially after our experience with the ICU. It made us stronger, and I felt like telling them this it would make them really scared, especially my mom. My mom's the cutest thing. I love you. And she would have been really shocked to see this type of thing on the media, especially because, you know, I have Facebook. She didn't have Facebook at the time, so for her it would have been like, well, how is this person, you know, are they going to come hurt you? We didn't know about it. So they, again, YouTube declined my request the first time. I did it again, sending this, I sent all my documents. I sent my passport, my Canadian citizenship, anything to prove that this was me. And I think they removed it, again, probably around after a month. By that time, it had gotten so many views, but really that was not my concern. My concern was just for it to be removed. So that was a good thing. YouTube video is gone. Hooray, social media bullying is over. Fortunately, that's not the case. Like I said, this person was obviously very flattered that I was in their life, apparently. And they decided to continue posting things on my blog. So one day I got a comment, again with the what is this? And this time a link to this website called The Dirty. Okay, before I go on, has anyone heard of this website? You've heard of it? Anyone else? Okay. What kind of website name is The Dirty? Like, it tells you a lot about what it's going to talk about. Really unnecessary. I had never heard of this website before, so anyway, I click on the link. First, they posted this a few times, and I deleted it a few times off my blog. And then when they kept going, I was like, okay, I have to find out what it really is. I click on this link, and it says The Dirty on the top, and then there's the same pictures of me that the person used in the YouTube video, except this time underneath each picture, there's, you know, some snarky comment about me. So, for example, she's not a virgin anymore. She lost her virginity to, like, a nurse in the ICU or something like that. Or, you know, why is she back in school? She's not supposed to be a nurse. Look at her smiling in this picture. She looks as cute as a button, and I did. And she's trying so hard to be a good girl. Really negative comments. It was terrible. When I went on the rest of the website of The Dirty, I found out that this is some website that apparently it's cool to post on. You send things in anonymously. Pictures of people with why they're dirty, and it gets approved, and really it's a terrible website. Please don't, I know now you're tempted, right, to go see what's on it, but don't go on it. There's pictures of people like half naked there. People have posted, you know, why they're slut, why they sleep with everyone the other day. So I'm not saying that it's appropriate for anyone to be on that website, but picture of someone wearing nothing and picture of someone wearing their nursing scrubs. Obviously, my stuff does not belong on that website whatsoever, and yet someone, this bully, thought it would be interesting to put it on the website. This really was probably when it shook me the most, because now this was on a website, all my pictures, not only just on YouTube, on a website that millions of people go on, unfortunately. Comments really not appropriate, not necessary to include at all, and at first I didn't tell my mom, my sister, or my dad. I was like, okay, you know, who goes on The Dirty? No one's going to figure out. Totally not the case. I logged on. I had it saved now on my phone, so I could just go on every day to see. It had, like I said over there, almost 5,000 comments, 15,000 views, shares, likes, all of the above, within about 2 weeks. It was really scary. I had no idea what was happening. I felt like I was being exposed to the world. I didn't understand why this person was bullying me, why they were picking on me. I just wanted to go back to school and do my thing, graduate, and here this person was really ruining my life. And I was 19. This person, I knew they were in my nursing program, which is a shocker when everyone hears this, because they knew where I was placed for my placement. I have to go to the hospital to do some practice hours, and this person knew exactly where I was, what ward I was on, where I would be the next semester. They said something like she uses her eating disorders to get good marks on tests, which I don't. I am actually very intelligent. I don't need anything to help me with that. Joke, but I really am. But anyway, just a comment like that, right? Like, why would you say, like, you know, I was really sick in the ICU. Why would you even say that about me? That's not fair. And anyway, I eventually got very disturbed by it. I would log on every day and see people commenting, people who don't even know me, making just the weirdest comments, like, yeah, you know, she's such a slut, she looks so ugly here. Who, like, one person said, like, who cut her bangs? They look like they were lopsided. One person was like, yeah, I know her, she slept with my best friend George, something like that. Like, I don't even know who George is. So really, I can laugh about it now, but it was really very serious. It was difficult. The fact that I didn't know who was posting these things, it was really inappropriate as well. And then on top of that, to think that it was a 19-year-old, possibly, you know, they were in my program with me in nursing, third-year nursing student. What are you going to be when you're a nurse? Is that the type of person you want taking care of you as a nurse? Someone who's snarky like that, who's posting pictures of people, posting YouTube videos, totally inappropriate. It was really unfortunate to see someone that would be that immature. And, you know, if they had a problem with me, which I don't understand what it was, why couldn't they just bring it to me if I had bothered them with someone or with something? Really, it came down to jealousy. They were obviously jealous. You know, maybe they didn't like the way I was living my life, that I had survived out of the ICU, who knows. Which doesn't matter. There's no reason that makes social media bullying right anyways. So what I ended up doing is I eventually did tell my mom, my sister, and my dad. We were sitting all together one day, and I told them about it. And the first thing I think my sister says is she goes, well, how? Like, how did this person even do this? How did they save your pictures? So what we did is we logged on to Facebook, and we were like, well, let's do an experiment. Let's try saving someone else's pictures. And we did. And we saved our friends' pictures. It was that easy. Going onto the Dirty website, you just submit an anonymous entry. And obviously, the owner of the Dirty, who is in the United States, just accepts everything because his website gets a lot of views, he gets a lot of money, he becomes famous and whatnot. So they didn't know what to do. They were like, okay, you know, we'll just keep it on the down low. Not because they were trying to brush it off, but because it was scary to us. We didn't know what was going on. So we thought, you know, like, maybe if we just keep it like hush-hush, we don't tell anyone, it'll stop getting comments. But it got a lot of comments very quickly. A lot of people were sharing it. A few people from my school told me that they saw links to it on other university websites. So obviously this person was going all over the place to advertise about it. And I was just sitting here watching my life really dwindle out of control, and it was difficult. I would be studying, you know, in one tab, and then I'd be like, I wonder what's on it now, and open the tab and read all the negative comments, which wasn't helpful to me. I would just end up getting hurt. So we decided to call the police. And we did. We didn't know, we're not the type of people to call the police, to be honest. To us, you know, police is just, you know, for crimes, murders, stuff like that. But I was hopeless. I started to feel suicidal, which is very new to me. Even when I was deep in my eating disorder, I never felt suicidal. Not that I wanted to kill myself, but I wanted to find an end to this social media bullying. I just wanted it to stop. And I couldn't, you know, I couldn't delete it off the website, so, you know, if I kill myself, I won't get hurt because I won't even know what's going on, right? Obviously, my family was really scared at this time. I'm sure my mom can say it was a really difficult time. That was all we thought about all day. Who commented? What's going on this website? So we did call the police. An officer came to our house. It was very late that day. It was probably around midnight when the police officer came. It was really nice of him to come over. They were very supportive. He got details about the case, asked us what was going on. We told him, and it was kind of funny. He was like, well, you do know that anything you post on Facebook is available to anyone, right? And I said, well, you know, my profile is private, so it would just have to be someone from my friends, and I didn't know someone was going to do this. And he was like, yeah, you're right, but we can't be in the minds of other people. We don't know what they're going to use our pictures for. We don't know, you know, people are two-faced. To your face, they're like your best friend. After that, you don't know what they do. And why I use this example is I was 19. You know, I'm not like a little kid. I'm not a 13-year-old where people are still immature. You would assume that people by 20 are mature. It's not the case. There are people who experience social media bullying who are also adults. It happens to all ages. So anyway, what he told us to do is he said, go on your Facebook, delete all your pictures you have now. That's the only way to keep yourself safe right now. Do you have any idea who could have done this? And I didn't. I don't add people on my Facebook unless I know them, and unless they're my friends, and I talk to them daily, and there's a reason why they're on my account. So it was really scary to think that someone I know to my face is, like buddy at school, and then after that, this is what they're doing in their spare time. And just as a reminder, I'm in the nursing program. It's a really tough program. I don't even have time to brush my hair sometimes. I did today, but I don't have time to brush my hair. And this person had time to study and gather all my photos, find a website to post it on, post this website, go back on my blog, post links to it. It's a very lengthy process. Like, I don't understand who had time to do all of this. If they said that I was using my eating disorder to get my marks, well, what are they doing when they could be getting their marks? So clearly someone had issues. I didn't know who did it. So the police said, well, we're just going to investigate and be aware that these things take time. We might not even find out who did it. In the meantime, try to contact the Dirty website and get your stuff posted off. So I can take a drink of water because I've been babbling for a while. So I did. I contacted the Dirty through the email, and I got an automated message coming back saying, if you can't take a joke, then take a hike. So that, way to go, the Dirty. That was tough. I was like, I can't take a joke. This is not a joke. This is bullying. This is going to make me commit suicide. Obviously, it was an automated message. They probably send this out to everyone who sends them an email with concern. So I kept trying. I would get the same automated message back. Eventually, I got so frustrated, and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to give it to them. And I wrote them an email, pretty professional-like, and I said, you know what? I contacted Peel Police. They told me to tell you to get it down. If you don't want to get it down, I'm going to hire a lawyer, and I'm prepared to sue you for any amount of money. And we were at our wits' ends. It had been going on for too long. I was being exposed to the world, and not even true stuff, things that were hurting my feelings. What I wanted to add, too, is my father is a family physician. He has the same last name as me, Abdel Malik. So this bully thought it would be interesting to go on, how there's like rate my professors, rate my teachers, there's also rate my physicians. So this person went on my dad's profile and used my name to comment under my dad and said, how can he be a good doctor? He doesn't even know when his daughter has an eating disorder. He's a terrible dad and a terrible father. And it was signed Verena Abdel Malik. So that looks really good, right? Like his daughter is commenting this. They also went on, my sister is a teacher, they went on the Peel website as well, where she works, and they tried commenting on her name as well. So now it was really taking me off. It wasn't just me anymore, it was getting to my family. And I'm like a mama bear, like if you hurt me, I'll take it. But if you hurt my family, like don't go there. Really don't. And they were. So do you get the picture? They were trying to get me from every possible angle. They knew that the eating disorder was in my past and maybe a soft spot for me, and that's where they decided to try to get me. What ended up happening is, I guess the Dirty was scared finally that I was going to sue them. Probably when I brought the money into the picture, they were angry. So they did take it off eventually, which was, that day I think like we pretty much had like a little dance party at my home that it had finally been taken off. It was a big deal. It was so good to have it taken off. Obviously, so many people had seen it, but at least it was no longer on there. By now I had taken off all my profile pictures from my Facebook. My sister had done the same thing. My mom had done the same thing. If we didn't need to post on Facebook, we didn't post anything. If we didn't need to link to anything, we didn't. Which is sad. It seems like we went to the extremes, but we didn't know how to protect ourselves anymore because it seemed like there was just no safety way. So that's really my experience with social media bullying. Until now, we don't know who did it. I guess we have no way of ever finding out because you do post anonymously to this website and it just gets approved, so it's really difficult to track it. Do I think they're going to catch the person? Probably not. At this point, I do wish they did, obviously. I do wish that they were expelled from the nursing program. Totally unprofessional behavior and misconduct. At the same time, I really feel sorry for them if that's the path that they want to take with social media and that's how they want to work out their problems, then that's fine. In my case, it was great that I had a family to help me with that. In other cases, people don't have that. I was able to tell my family. A lot of children, a lot of teens will not tell their family. They won't let it be known, and it will just keep going on. And I felt suicidal, and I had never felt that before. if I hadn't said anything about it, maybe it had gone to that far. Some kids, it will go. We've heard, there's in the news, a lot of stories daily. People commit suicide because of bullying. And because social media is such a big deal these days, that's the way the bullying is ultimately happening. People won't say it to your face, they'll post it online or they'll send it through a text message. So that's one of the main reasons why I'm actually doing this presentation up here, is because of my experience. I think it's a great message for you guys, for everyone to know. It does happen. It doesn't stop when you hit the teenage years. It doesn't stop when you should be mature. And it spreads very, very quickly. And the impact that it has on victims is so profound. I can speak about it now, and I'm stronger now because of it, but definitely it was a difficult time, and I hope that it doesn't have to happen to anyone. But reality is, it does happen. So just a little bit of background. I went through this, how, again, I mentioned, profile is totally private. I don't send anyone pictures of myself. I don't befriend anyone who's not close to me. So it's kind of scary to think that it could be someone within your circle of friends. But what I also want to point out here is you really don't know what's happening in the media, what's happening behind that screen. Facebook might say it's private, but I don't know what the guy's name is, Marcus Zuckerberg or whatever his name is, the guy who made Facebook. I don't know what his settings are. If he decides, if a glitch happens and everyone's profiles go totally public, I mean, are you ready to show the world what you've posted on? Is your kid ready to show, I don't know, the tattoo they got on who knows where? Probably not. But that's what you have to keep in mind, and that's what we have to tell kids and tell teens. You may think that it's private now, but it actually might not be private. It might not be private in the future. It might not even be private now. And they have to be aware of that. Teens and kids are kind of in the invincible stage. They think that nothing bad can happen to them. Even if they're being safe, it can happen to them. And that's what we have to get across. So this is just a little chart. Most of the bullying today through social media happens through Facebook. It's not a surprise. Everyone uses Facebook. We're always on Facebook. Now we even have an app for Androids or iPhones. It's at the touch of a button. There's also Twitter, there's texting, there's other social media, bloggers, MySpace, MSN. Things to keep in mind. Social media is everywhere. Everyone uses it. Little kids use it. Big kids use it. Adults use it. And that's the way that bullying is ultimately happening these days. So this was a really good thing I found, SafeBook instead of Facebook. So this is just some tips that people came up with on how to help protect your safety, and also it relates to bullying. So I won't go through all of it. If you type in SafeBook in Google Images, it'll come up. There's basic things. Don't give your password to anyone. But really, I mean, you might not give your password to anyone, people can still bully you. So there's other things. Think about what you post. Is it really necessary? I mean, Facebook just added the emotion thing. Have you guys seen that? Someone is feeling blah, blah. I mean, that's great, but really, I mean, I don't really care, no offense, if you're feeling excited at the moment. We don't need to know that. And that's the clean version of it. Some people won't always keep it PG. They'll go beyond that. Teens and kids might not even know what they're posting. Maybe they're going to link to something that they don't even have idea what they're doing. And this is how it spreads. So just some tips to be aware of. Don't be friends with someone that you don't know. Kids might have a hard time with this. Some kids have contests. Who can have the most friends on Facebook? Click, 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 click. And they just add everyone. And it sounds weird to us because as adults we think through it and we'd be like, well, why would you do that? Kids don't think like that. Even teens don't think like that. They're just going to add everyone they can possibly have because they want to brag about their friends. So this is something that we need to go through and tell these people. And I'm going to mention it later on, but I'm going to mention it now. How many of you have kids that are on Facebook? How many of you are friends with your kids on Facebook? Okay. So a few people. I think you're not, right?
I refuse to have Facebook. I refuse.
Okay. Well, I was like that too, and then peer pressure, I have to say. My mom never used to have Facebook. She got it after a while, and when she got Facebook, I was hysterical. I was like, Mom, you can't be on Facebook when I'm on Facebook. This is terrible. But obviously, me and my mom, we're buddy-buddy. We befriended each other. A lot of parents aren't friends with their kids on Facebook. And I know, maybe your kid will have a privacy issue. They just don't want you intruding their lives. They think it's not cool. They think you're too old, whatever. You have to be friends with your kids on Facebook. You really, really have to. It's a way for you to track what they're doing. It's a way for you to see who's friends with them. And also, if your kid isn't telling you what bullying is going on, that's your way of looking on their wall and finding out what's happening. You're not being an intruder, you're not ruining their lives, even if they tell you you are. You're saving their butt from something that could come out to harm them. It's really important that you be friends with them on Facebook. Like, I can't stress this enough. Be friends with your kid on Facebook. You don't need to have their password, but you need to have access to what they're posting and what people are posting on their wall. Okay, so prevention. I really like this tool, and I can't see it because I'm in glasses, so I'm going to scooch down. So before you post on whatever, so you think. So the T is it true? Is it hurtful? Is it illegal? Is it necessary? And is it kind? And I think this is a really good way of helping people go through whether or not they should post something. Whether this is about yourself or whether this is about something else. Particularly if it's about someone else, because that's how bullying will get out of hand. So like I said, be friends with your kids on Facebook and talk to your kids or whoever you're dealing with, whether you're a guidance counselor, if you're a police officer, if you're a teacher, talk to them about social media. Tell them it's great, social media is a good way to be friends with people. On the other side, there's a lot of bad sides to it, and you need to know how to protect yourself and how to keep yourself safe. I like this image. The father is asking him, how's your day at school? And he goes, oh, fine. And then you see the knives in his back, which is what happens a lot. Asking your kid, how was your day at school? Like, my mom asks me all the time, and I might have had a terrible day, and I'll just say, fine, because I don't want to talk about it. It's just the way, how are you? Fine, how are you? That's just the way it works, right? You need to ask your kids, what did you do at recess? Who did you sit with at lunch today? What was everyone talking about today? At the beginning, they're going to be like, well, Mom, why are you asking me? That's just the way kids and teens are. But you need to ask them. Give them an example. My mom, she helped me with this. So my mom said something really good, and she was like, well, if you can give your kid an example, like, what would you do if someone posted something on Facebook of your friend and it was inappropriate? What would you do? And have the child or the teen work through that scenario with you and figure out what would they do. Do they know how to act? Do they know that it's important to tell somebody? So just getting them to think about it. These are some statistics. Basically what I want to get out of this is majority of people don't tell anyone about social media bullying. They're going to keep it inside, which is why we're having this presentation. Why it's important to get it out in the radar and to let people know that you have to tell someone. I kind of don't like the last part, got better when I told someone about it. I think that's kind of iffy. For me, got better is really a subjective thing. Did they catch the person? No. But did it stop? Yes. Do I feel better? Yes. They might, victims aren't going to want to admit to social media abuse. They're not going to want to talk about it because they're scared it's going to get worse. But you have to tell them that this is wrong. It shouldn't be happening. There's no excuse, and we need to put a stop to it. So these are some prevention methods. I'm not going to go through all of them. They're pretty basic, what we talked about. Being safe, privacy. One thing I like is they said if you're in a school setting, designate a person to be like the social media bullying kind of like representative. So if anyone has a problem, they can go to them, they can talk to them. That person can do presentations. And what I think is really important, I think is on the next slide, is stop being mean on the screen. When you're having these presentations, whether it's in school, even in the workplace, you can't just have it at the beginning of the year and then not talk about it until June. It has to be incorporated daily because kids are going to forget and they're not going to get why it's important. Like they're going to be like, oh, this again. You need to get them involved. Ask them, how would you feel? What do you think if this happened? Bring in the news. This person committed suicide. This person happened to this. If you want to share my experience, go ahead. Just let them know that it's real and have them work through it so that they can understand how important it is. Because if you tell them once at the beginning and once at the end, they're going to forget about it. You need to keep reinforcing it. So aging, bullying starts at the age of 9. Again, we brought this up at the beginning. Really, these statistics show us how prevalent cyberbullying is and also how few, it's 58%, don't tell anyone about it, which is very scary. And again, that could be falsely low because a lot of people won't tell anyone about it and then they won't admit about not telling anyone about it. So keep that in mind. So if we don't act, I talked about this. It gets worse. Suicide, maybe even physical abuse. Something that I forgot to mention is the person on the website, on the Dirty, started saying, if I see her at school, I'm going to follow her and get a guy to rape her and stuff like that. So I started feeling really scared to go to university. I had no idea. We were going to hire a bodyguard. Like, we didn't know what to do. We were just scared. Reality is, this is what happens. Even if they don't act on it, a threat is a threat. It doesn't matter what they do about it. So if it gets that bad, even if it it doesn't get that bad. We don't want it to get to this. But if it does, that's when you realize that you need to take action. So how do we stop it from becoming this bad? I think the bar says about like 45% commit suicide because of cyberbullying, which is terrible rate, terrible, terrible. We stop it and we get the prevention out there. So signs of social media bullying are signs of bullying, from anything. They're not sleeping properly. They're not eating properly. Maybe they're harsh to your family. Maybe they're suddenly aggressive. Maybe they're staying in their room all the time. They've closed their Facebook account. They refuse to go on the media. They refuse to look at stuff. These are little signs that we need to be aware of. Change in sleeping, appetite, and normal habits, and lack of pleasure from things are big warning signs that can tell you before a kid goes out and commits suicide. These are things to be aware of, and things that we need to know no matter what setting you're in. It doesn't necessarily mean that someone who doesn't have an appetite is experiencing social media bullying, but it's almost like a sign that you can follow up with, and it's not wrong to ask them what's going on. If they feel like you're supportive, they probably will start to tell you about it, but you need to give them time. You can't be on a rush and ask them about it, and that's why the representative idea is a good thing to have in schools. It's someone that's designated for these types of things. So these are do's and don'ts. The big thing that I want to point out about this slide is don't tell the person that it's temporary and it won't, it's not a big deal. It's not therapeutic. It's big. It's a big deal to them. It's a big deal to be the victim of social media abuse. So they need to know that it's serious. It shouldn't be happening, even if for whatever reason. And it's not right, and that they deserve help, and they deserve to be respected. They deserve to have their dignity protected, and all of the above. And then it just goes through tips. If they're saying suicidal, don't just brush it off and say, no, you can't commit suicide. You have to follow up with that. So take a stand against bullying, get help, designate someone, talk to your kids. If you're a healthcare provider, ask them, are you experiencing bullying? Give them an example, ask them to work through it. Be friends with them on Facebook, follow their account. Think about what you post. Are you posting pictures that the world should see? Do they need to see it? If they don't, honestly, don't post it. And I know that sounds like we're, belittling Facebook, and that's totally taking away the purpose. But really, people don't need to see every detail about your life, because reality is you don't know what they're going to use it for. And that's the problem. You might be posting it in good faith, but you don't know what they're going to take and what they're doing with it. So these are some tips about getting help. Talk to someone. If you need to call the police, you need to call the police. It's not wrong to call the police. I'm thankful we did. It made me feel more confident telling the person I was going to sue. It also made me feel like I had almost like someone to support me behind me. I had the police that were working on it. Even if they didn't figure out, at least they made an effort. And at least they were treating it like it was real. They were reinforcing my feelings that I had the right to complain about this. The police came, they told me, yes, this shouldn't be happening. And that's what victims need. They need to feel like what they're feeling is okay, that what they're feeling is very real for why this is happening, and that it shouldn't be happening to them in the first place, regardless of what they've done to deserve, which no one does, the social media bullying. So I think
I just want to comment about, in terms of getting some help, a couple things I wanted to follow up on. One was when we were doing this, I consulted with the youth officer actually for Hamilton Police Service, and asked him what happens in these situations. And he says, yeah, absolutely, we'll always follow up. They often do presentations in schools, and they'll follow up, and that they have laid charges over the years. Okay, who's aware of what happened in Lakeland, Florida? What happened last week around bullying? Did you hear it? What happened? Police down there, they arrested and they charged two girls, 12 and 14. They bullied a girl for a year, and she eventually ended her life by suicide. And they laid charges. This is across the world. It was in the Daily Mail in England and everything. So it's interesting to hear that charges have been laid, but this is one that's going to hit the media, and I'm telling you, there's going to be a lot to be seen for this. And I think once one person's done it, we're aware of it, a lot more of it's going to happen along the way. There is also under the Justice Act, Restorative Justice Circle, which involves all party, faculty, and parents, and then talk about why, how, what's the bullying, and then to see what the fallout from bullying is afterwards. One of the things he does say is that they try to pursue this in terms of looking at IP addresses, but of course many times they use fake names, they're anonymous. He was saying that they called one and found that was somehow based out of Hungary. How do you deal with that? How do you deal with that? So again, it's a complex issue that we're struggling with. One of the things I want to highlight, though, is, I have two daughters, 19 and 21, and I can't imagine, you know, at any point them coming home and telling me about what Marina's been through. I know for myself, I would have been a mess. I would have been very upset. I would have been in crisis. My child was probably in crisis. So I think if that happens, one of the things I would encourage you to do is call the crisis lines. We are there 24 hours a day. I work in Hamilton for the COAST program, but I put some of the local ones up there for you for information. What happens typically, and we get many calls, sadly we get many calls, often it's the kid or often it's the mom saying, listen, I just found out my child is being bullied, it's been going on for months. They often have thoughts of suicide, they're beside themselves, and what happens is we will work through it with the child, but as well with the parents as well. Okay, so again, that's a resource. We always want to ask, you know, have people thought about wanting to hurt themselves in some way? What are they doing? You know you can call us. We validate their emotions. I say every time, that should never have happened. You've done nothing wrong to cause this. You know what we do? We're going to figure this out. Your mom's upset, right? Yeah, okay. I'm going to talk to your mom in just a minute. Right now, I'm going to talk with you, okay? Who was it? And we're able to, because we're an objective party, we're able to kind of talk about it probably in a little bit more depth than what they can with their mom or dad, who's very emotional and part of it. The other thing, obviously, is we can also give some legal advice in terms of saying, you know what, you really do need to go to the police on this one, or you need to call the school. Again, so these are the kinds of things that we do in terms of the crisis line. So I just wanted to highlight that.
I'm back. Did you miss me?
No, they didn't miss you.
Of course not, of course. Younger. Okay. She has more experience. Okay, so this was a really good thing. It's a group called Angels, and I just found it online. It's the way that they're approaching social media bullying. So they got the whole community together, and they made up this little chart to describe what each person or what group is responsible for what. And I thought it was a good thing. I wish that every community, at least every school community, can go through this. So basically, in terms of cyberbullying, who to trust, what to post, putting limits on how much time you use social media. It's a big one with children. It's a waste of time. They don't need to be on it every second. It doesn't matter whose puppy, you know, got born. It's not a big deal. So again, children and students, again, who to trust. What I really like is they've involved the parents, the supportive communities, the police officers, the schools, and everyone has a role to play. And why I put this up here is that's my message. Everyone in the community has a role to play in social media abuse or social media bullying. Whatever your role is, there's always someone that you can help. There's always steps that you can take. Even if, you know, at school, if you're a teacher, you make presentations, you let them know what to do. You give them, like Sarah said, the reinforcement that we know this is a difficult time, we understand what you're going through, and it must be tough. Other things, maybe even making like a social media, I don't know, awareness day, and just getting the community out for everyone to get into part to something. So it's really important, and as a nurse, I see all the time that change happens in the community. If you want to make a change and you want to get something, you have to get as many people involved as you possibly can. And social media bullying is a very big deal in society today. You'll have a lot of people who want to learn about it, you guys are here. A lot of people who are interested, who have experienced something and haven't spoken out. So obviously, you know, all communities are going to follow this, but I thought it was a good way of showing you guys how important it is and how much you can do if you get the community together and the steps you can take. So these are some online resources. I put online because no one buys books anymore. But there's really good websites out there. I buy books too. I don't like online. That's a different story. But I don't like it. I like highlighting with my highlighters. But anyway, really good online resources for everyone. The first one's the Media Smarts. This is a really good website. Go to this website. I spent hours on this website one day just looking at the stuff. It's good because it has resources for different age groups and for different professions. So the first one I put up there is for teachers. The second one up there is for parents. There's also one for kids, which is really good. The other one, cyberbullying. Obviously, that would be the website name, right? Also really good information. They target this information towards all age groups. And the really good thing about them, too, is there's a lot of worksheets. I think it's on the keepsafe.org. Don't quote me on that, but I'm pretty sure that one has worksheets for kids. And they, like, I don't know, fill in the blanks with cyberbullying, or Marissa is having this type of day, what do you think is going on? And it's a really good way to get kids active in this, even teens. So take a minute to write those resources down. They're really good. what I did, to be honest, is I typed in cyberbullying information on Google, and all of these popped up. So, which is really good. Google's a good thing. Type in cyberbullying, social media abuse. Lots of resources come up, lots of great statistics, lots of good information. And if kids are on the computer using Facebook, they can surely get on the computer and educate themselves about social media, which is an important part. I think that's my next slide. No, it's not. I'll go back so you can write those down. Kids are always on the computer. To get them to use social media for other things is a good idea because, 4-year-olds have tablets. Have you seen those tablets for babies where they learn the alphabet on tablets now? It's a big deal. There are 4-year-olds who've got iPhones, whatnot. So if you can use those tools to get them involved in how to prevent social media abuse, they're more likely to engage in it because they're going to be happy just being able to use the tablet. So that's why those websites that we put up are really great. They're a way for kids to learn about this, and it's a way for them to have fun at the same time. So you're not forcing them into doing anything. They're actually having fun because they get to use a tablet or whatnot. So I found this, a school decided to write "Stop Bullying Little People," and I thought it was really cool. I want to be a part of that. Can you imagine? Like, look, Mom, I'm part of the S. I thought it was pretty cool. So this is my information. Apparently I'm available now to give presentations, so this is my information if you want to take it down. I do give talks about eating disorders, mental health, nursing, whatnot, so I'm always there. I'm 20 years old, but I'm pretty sure I've proved to you guys that I have a lot more knowledge than just 20-year-olds. This is my blog. Please do go to it. A lot of good information on there. I do research. I put information about bullying, eating disorders, mental health, my experiences with nursing. So far, I've gotten a lot of good feedback. I'm also a blog writer for NEDIC, the National Eating Disorder Information Center, and I do post links to my blog whenever I post there. I've done a couple of radio interviews about eating disorders. I've recently done one now about food and the holidays and how people cope with that time. Yummy turkey pie, all that great stuff. So do go on it. It's a really good way, just even to read. Pretty good writer, so I'll keep you entertained. And yeah, like I said, if you have any questions, if you need me to speak at anything, I'm always available. There's my email. So yeah, thanks for your time. I had fun. You guys are a good audience. Yes, same question?
Any questions?
Do you Google your name on a regular basis just to see if something else is being posted by this individual?
That's actually, I wanted to mention that. Thank you. What I ended up doing is, if you do Google my name, which you should to get my blog, you will find my blog there. But what happened is when they posted my stuff on the Dirty would come up before my blog, which was so terrible because instead of linking to my blog, everyone would link to there. You can Google your own names and try to find it. The problem is sometimes people Google just doesn't recognize things. Like sometimes I Google in my own name and my blog doesn't come up for some reason, maybe because I haven't put my full name somewhere in a post. So you could Google your name, but reality is people have weirdest things of doing something. Like if someone saves a picture of you and posts it but doesn't put your full name, you're not going to be able to find it, right? I wouldn't have known about that bullying if they hadn't stupidly put a link to my blog, but it's good that they did because I figured it out. But if they hadn't done that, I would have never known, right? Yep.
Was your university made aware of the problems you were going through? Did they take any, since it was within your program, did they take any action?
Sarah actually asked me about that. I did tell a few of my professors within, they did tell me that they were going to tell the faculty. The faculty said, because it's anonymous, we can't do anything about it. That wasn't a good response, obviously. More action should be taken, at least to just gather everyone together and tell them we are experiencing bullying. They wouldn't have singled me out, obviously, but say, if you've done it, if you know anyone about it, come talk to us about more information. I don't think what they did is the right way to handle it. It definitely isn't. If something happens, that's why there are representatives in schools. That's why it needs to be spoken about. You're not going to say, oh, student A was bullied. But to make everyone aware of it, I wasn't happy with the response I got back from my school. It wasn't fair, especially in the nursing. You'd think they would kind of nurse me through it, but no. That's why we were kind of...
Let me tell you, I'm a former administrator.
Pardon me?
In my case, a community college.
Oh, okay.
And I agree with you. There's a tendency on behalf of all employers abdicate their responsibility and say it's taking place in the public domain, therefore it's a police issue. In fact, my suggestion is, if you narrow it down that your harasser or bullier is within that work site or education site, there is at least a moral responsibility on behalf of those people to take action. In fact, I think that if it was public knowledge, it would put your harasser on notice that, hey, listen, we're on to you, and it may drive them for cover.
Yeah.
It might not. It might make them just mad and say, I'm going to show you how good I am.
Yeah.
But most people who do this, in my opinion, are not as savvy as they think they are. So it might have lessened their impact to some degree. I think your administrator couldn't handle it in a better way.
I agree. Well, I'm glad you brought that up.
I'm actually going to add a comment to that, actually. When I heard Marina's story, I felt it was an opportunity for us all to learn about social bullying, about media, and I think any faculty would take the opportunity to say, things happen, you're a professional, you're learning to be a professional, don't let it happen again, whether it's the person, I'm actually going to follow up myself with the faculty to say, I feel that this was a learning opportunity that was missed.
Before going into education, I also was in criminal justice. So my suggestion is, people brag. They don't do this they brag to their friends. And look what I'm doing. And the most likely there is ways of finding out. Somebody knows something. And if you make it public information, it's surprising what will come out. I've done it.
I think for us, at the time, because it was our first experience with it, for a while, we just didn't want to tell anyone. Like, it was kind of like a curse on our household. Like, we just didn't want to. But that's something we learned, and that's something my mom will tell you that she learned. We learn now, if someone has a problem and they're doing this to you, it's not okay to be quiet about it. That's why you have to speak out. And thank you for bringing up a question about Google and for bringing about the faculty, because I did talk to that. About that to Sarah, and definitely that's why we have this, and that's why, if you experience this, or if someone experiences it, this is why you have to act. It's not okay to just say, oh, we didn't know who did it, that's it. So I agree.
I work downtown with the Wynot Centre. I don't know if anybody knows it. I deal with 13 to 19-year-olds, and your particular case, I had to deal with a situation like that. But in the end, it ended up being 5 people involved. What happened is that teens don't realize what they're doing, obviously, but they know how to manipulate it. And that's what happened in this particular case. We were all at the centre and we all started talking, and somebody said, this person sent me a nasty text. That person sat there and said, I haven't. What they've done is they've got somebody else to do it while that person was sat there. It roller coasted so much that I had a group telling me there's nothing that anybody can do, not even the police. That's how they've gotten to this point, that they will look, the police aren't going to do anything. We continued with what was going on. We talked about it. It was great in a sense because it became an open forum for, I think there was about 20 teens there. And then a situation happened involving, say, about 5 of these people. And what had happened was they started cyberbullying, getting really nasty, and it got to the point that one particular person had tried to commit suicide a while ago, and they were dealing with the situation. However, the person had texted about, you didn't do it right. How about doing it right the next time? I got these people together, and this is one of the most important things, was the girl whose text it came from, even though it was her phone, she hadn't texted. So we ended up with a situation that this girl had been accused of doing all this. She hadn't a clue what was going on, but the girl had loaned her phone. That is one of the biggest things is teens are borrowing for, oh, I've left my phone here, I've done this. They walk away, they text, they hand it back, and the person they hand it back to, they really don't know what's been going on, and that is what happened. I ended up with 3 or 4, and it's like, okay, you stay here, and we had to deal with it. We had to sit down and we had to get it out that, hey, you loaned your phone, this is what's happening, even though you didn't realize this is what happened to this person, and we needed to talk to the other person. So at the end of the day, the biggest thing where cyberbullying is concerned is making sure whoever has their phone, they're being responsible. They basically keep the phone, unless it's a 911 call, don't give your phone, because they were all friends. You know, oh, I just lent it to my friend. When it come to, she didn't know what was happening. 3 or 4 days later, this all came about. And so right now we're in the process of actually creating a PowerPoint like this, all about the cyberbullying, and it all comes from the teens themselves to, you know, say what it's like, where it's happening, and why they're doing it. But the biggest one was the fact that they admit it. The police, they're not going to do well. So with the information that as more people get charged, I think it'll start dropping. But right now they think, we can do this, it's not going to matter. And it does, it's a big thing. It was great, like I say, because we sat down and there was 20 people that we were able to engage with, and they were quite open, which was a valuable piece of information for us. But, you know, like I say, to make sure people are aware about their phone, about their Facebook, anything.
It's a good lesson too. Some people log on to Facebook and they keep it open. Like, you know, how many times do you see someone post it and it doesn't sound like them, and it turns out their friend said something. Sometimes it's funny, but that could happen. What I didn't mention too is if ever social media bullying happens, you need to save the evidence. So in that case, the text message was saved. You know, if there's an email being sent to your child or to someone, make sure they save the email. Like, you know, some people say it's just going to haunt them there. No, they need that. They need that as evidence. It helps with finding out who did it. It helps reinforce the fact that the bullying is real. And it can help find out who is to blame for it. So always make sure to save the evidence whenever that happens.
And Maria, in your case, exactly what you're saying, if your images are saved, and we tell kids that they're always going to be there, whatever that person who is victimizing them, their information is going to be there forever. If we don't have the technology now, we will through forensic accounting. One time we didn't have fingerprint evidence, we do. Now we have DNA, we couldn't use it. Now we use it all the time. So I'm very optimistic. Whatever people who are victimizing other people, eventually will become a time when all of this will be accountable for.
That's a really important message to tell the victims as well. You know that statistic, you know, it didn't get better when I told them. It will get better. You just have to wait, and it takes time. But if it doesn't hit them now, it'll hit them tomorrow. There's always justice going to happen. Thank you so much. That's really touching to hear.
I'm just wondering if we need to actually get the message out there what cyberbullying is. Because when you started this, my whole thought of what cyberbullying was somebody sending a mean text. And as terrible as that is, what you and your poor family have gone through is absolutely despicable. Individuals got up in the morning with the absolute terrible mindset to hurt you in this way. It's absolutely bizarre that people use their lives to hurt you in this way. This is absolutely mind-boggling.
Well, it's good to hear. I think a lot of the times when we think of social media bullying, we don't think that it'll get this far. But I'm glad I was able to come talk to such a good group of people. And really, like, if you're in a workplace or a teacher or anything, please, like, if you need me to come in, I'll come and talk about it, anything. Just get it out there. It's really dear to my heart because I would really not want anyone else to suffer with this. It's true. It really is painful. And just, you're right, to think that someone just totally planned this out in their head is kind of disgusting. It's kind of unfortunate.
I just wanted to reiterate with people that with any type of social media we use, just because you push the delete button does not mean it's gone. It's never, ever, ever gone. We have to remember that everything is transmitted through sound waves, radio waves. It's there. Anything you post here today, somebody can delete, they can break into it, or they can get it in Europe with a matter of minutes. Just because you push delete, it's never gone. Nothing is ever gone. It's always there for somebody to tap into.
Which is important for us to know, but also when you're telling the invincible stage teens or whatever, they need to know, just because they don't see it anymore there, it's true, it's
They
very
think
still
you push
there.
delete,
They
it's
think,
gone.
I thought that way too, you know, but no.
I just have a question. I know with schoolyard bullying and stuff, we always teach our kids not to be aggressive, to be assertive, and not passive so they can stand up for themselves. Were you able to ever, like, I don't know how, for me, I'm thinking if someone were to do this, I'd be going ballistic, like you're a piece of blah, 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 and just having a bull getting angry. How did you handle that, right? Because I don't know if that's gonna make it worse,
Right,
right?
I'm not the type of person to go and pick up a fight with someone. Eventually, I did want to go on and start commenting, and I even told Memo, like, I was gonna go on and say, like, well, hi, this is Marina, like, what's your problem with me? But then, you know, after talking with my family and even talking to the police, they were like, this bully, like, he doesn't care what you write. Like, you know, you can write whatever you want, you can swear at them, you can curse at them. If they've already started it, they're gonna do it. I think on the plus side, even if I had known who did it, it wouldn't be therapeutic anyway to go up to that person. It's a danger for me physically, but also, like everyone mentioned here, if they already have that mindset and they're just so stuck in it, it's gonna need more than a 20-year-old coming up to you and saying, you know, stop. They need, like, legal action, maybe as Sarah mentioned. And I think what we need to tell victims as well is that's why you need to tell someone else. Don't try to control it yourself. With teens and kids, they might try to control it and they might think it's going to work, but it's not going to work out the way they had it planned. They can end up getting hurt. It can turn into a really bad issue, murder, weapons, and whatnot. The parents might get involved. It might be a really messy, ugly thing. So it's okay, I think, to be assertive about it, but cross and be aggressive is when you need to stop, because that's not going to help.
I just wanted to say thank you for sharing this word.
Oh, thank you guys. Was it helpful?
On behalf of everyone here today, I'd like to thank you with one. Both of you, Sarah. Just a little token of our
Oh, thank you
appreciation.
so much.
And I think we want to share with you, we commend you and your mother and your sister and your father for all the courage that it took to get you here today. And thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
And
I
I
know. I was really nervous coming in. I was like, I don't know who's going to come watch me, Mom. And they were like, let's record you. Let's blah, blah, blah. Going all over the place. But it was really good. We had a good audience. And I'm really glad that I was able to use the story to help. I hope that it got the message across that it's very real. We all need to act out. Really, like I said, if you need me to come speak, if you need to speak, anything, just please get it out there. It's really important to get these people help. So thank you so much. I really enjoyed my time. It was fun. Thank you.